Can I just say that we've only got a short length of time, so I'd just like to be very, very quick in your questions. I want to round up the questions and then ask Kostas to come in at the end, because otherwise we won't deal with them.
Kostas, can you think of any precedent for a property situation such as has been going on in North and South Cyprus being unscrambled? All I can think of is situations where people have given up on it all over Central Europe. Venizelos and Ataturk gave up on it and so on. I mean, what you're proposing is very interesting, but has it ever been done anywhere else?
No.
Can I stop you? Can I have the other questions? Because then I'm going to ask Kostas to ask all.
Could I ask a supplementary to that, which is, yes. Kostas mentioned compensation. Talat having mentioned compensation.
Yes,
where is that compensation going to come from? Because in the Annan plan, that was proposed to come from the federal government, not from Turkey.
Absolutely.
Okay, there was somebody at the back.
There's also the back.
An area that you touched on very briefly was you said that there is no such supreme power like the West are try and impose. Now, I mean, when it comes to other things of their own interest, they do impose on things in other countries, but in Cyprus as well, they do. I mean, Britain has taken a leading role in sort of expressing that it is interested in solving the Cyprus issue. And the main thing is, if the talks come to a deadlock, let's try and look forward, sort of 5-6 years from now. Can you ever envisage a situation where the West would turn around and say, well, it's come this far, we might as well accept another state? Or if it doesn't, should it not say now, we will never ever accept it? That would contribute to the talks, because this is what these people are doing. They're saying, well, one day they will recognise it.
Okay. Yes, Chris.
Just one question about time. We said after Annan, that some people were saying that the less Annan worked, the sky would fall in. We're now saying if we don't get something sorted out by May, June, July, the sky is going to fall in for a second time. Wouldn't you agree with me that the word never is a very foolish word to use in politics, whether it's for the Greek Cypriots voting never, or saying they're voting never, or building up a feeling that you've simply got to stop trying if it doesn't work?
I'll start with the next, if I may.
Okay, I think we've finished.
Obviously, I agree with that. I started this meeting by saying, get the message across, never to say never. That's how I started. You hadn't arrived when I said that. So obviously I agree. And I was the one in the Greek-Turkish Forum who was saying at the time, the Annan time, where people were saying the sky was going to fall in, I was saying, well, we hope it works out, but if it doesn't work out, we will go on working. And that's exactly what's happening. So that's point number one. With regard to the property issue, apart from the question of international law, one of the strongest arguments in favor of what is being, I understand, but I don't know the details, argued by Dimitris Christofias, is that the arrangements under the Annan plan were economically catastrophic, and at least serious economists thought that they were economically catastrophic. And in addition to that, the international bureaucracy that would be set up was an absolute invitation to massive corruption by international civil servants, and let nobody say that international civil servants cannot be corrupt, because we all know from the Iraqi Food for Oil story that international civil servants can be just as corrupt as the civil servants of particular countries. Therefore, this is yet another reason why, Peter, to reply to your question, I think that this time it will have to be done. And there is this big difference, that in Central Europe, what happened before the treaties setting up European architecture, the Declaration of Human Rights, all that. All this was 1945 story, or at the worst 1948 when the communists were taking over. None of this was testing the architecture of the wider architecture. I'm not talking about the EU now, the wider architecture of European integration. I will tell a little confidential story. I phoned up somebody on the European Union, on the Council of Europe, Court of Human Rights, when the Annan Plan came out. And I said, what do you think about these provisions that people will not be allowed to appeal? And he said, well, this is dynamite for us. But don't quote me publicly, and I didn't quote him publicly, but that was the fact. This is not going to be in any new settlement. It's out of the question that there could be anything in which would dynamite fundamental European institutions, in my view. Finally, on...
Compensation?
Sorry?
Quickly, compensation?
Well, there is no way that a vast amount of compensation can be given, and this is the big argument. We're going to be talking about homes. People will stay in the homes where they are staying. They will have priority. But that does not mean that you necessarily have to compensate for property because other people are staying in other homes, so you do exchange. And in addition, then you give people the opportunity. You have a market, and people sell properties if they don't want them. And that is going to happen in a big way, and let the free market operate. And that requires very much less money than having a vast bureaucracy. Let me now answer the very important question, what might they do down the road? Of course, you're right. Of course, international powers can be very tough. We have seen the United States in Iraq. I mean, that was a very dramatic example of such. If it is in their direct interest to be so. I, of course, hope that they will give the message very loudly and clearly that we will not accept any idea of partition, formal partition. For any formal idea of partition. I hope so. Even if they do not, however, there is a certain logic in the situation. The European Union, to which Turkey aspires, and in my view justly aspires, to have a vocation to be a member of the European Union, will never accept such an idea because of Spain. Forget Greece for a moment. Let us suppose that the Greeks crumble. The Spaniards will not crumble. The unity, the integrity of Spain is at severe risk from the Catalans and the Basques. And no Spanish government, no conceivable Spanish government, neither socialist and still less of the Popular Party, will for a moment allow the precedent of a partition in a country and the other part remaining a member of the European Union. So although I hope with you that it's made clear formally, in fact, it is clear as far as the European is concerned anyhow because of the Spanish case.
Do you think they'll make it clear though?
I don't know. At the present moment, they're not making it clear. No, you're quite right.
Costa,
Thank you.
You put the time limit on it.
Yeah.
I think this could have gone on all night. I want to thank you very much for being so stimulating. I want to thank you for all your questions. I want to say that before Costa actually brings out his book on Cyprus, which I hope will be a success story, there is some influence that he's had on the Friends of Cyprus reports, which you can take away with you and keep in contact. And that we've had a lot of discussion. Not just with Costa, but in our own parliament here. Gordon Brown is writing in the Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot press this weekend. So let's all get together and make this happen. Thank you, Costa.
Thank you, Mary.
Is no question. Is not question what I was going to ask Mr. Karas. I wanted to remind him